Hi guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back again for another stream, and today's video it is the transfer tips video, as always on a Tuesday, where it is the buy, sell, hold, and ignore series, where we recommend you players that you should be transferring into your team and also transferring out your team. So we will get started, but before we do, how are you doing, Jordan? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good, thanks. A lot of football on tonight, so don't be making any early transfers, people out there.
Yep, there are Champions League games on tonight. I know City are playing. I haven't actually checked any of the scores, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, don't do any early transfers, guys, in case there are injuries, etc. As we know. But without further ado, let's get into it. If you have just joined the stream, guys, and if you are watching on a playback, please do drop a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. But yeah, let's go. Let's bring up the players. Got Elliot in the chat who says, "Hey guys, shout out to Elliot. Hope you're doing well."
Hey, Elliot.
And yeah, let's get into it. So the first player on our transfer tips list as a buy, and that is Trossard of Brighton. Now, we've included Trossard as a buy for game week 11 because of his fixtures and because of how he's played so far this season. 8 appearances, 5 goals, and 2 assists for Trossard. So he's having a very, very good season so far. His underlying numbers also look pretty decent. Expected goals per 90 at 0.35. We know their manager Potter has left to go to Chelsea, but it seems like it hasn't made much of a change to Brighton's attack. And De Zerbi, I think that's how you say his name, their new manager, he's still looking like he's going to play some attacking football. Maybe not as good defensively, but I think Brighton are still a decent attacking team, and I don't think that's going to change with Potter leaving. So you look at the next 2 fixtures, Brentford away in game week 11 and Nottingham Forest at home in 12 looks very, very nice. I think Trossard is definitely a buy, guys, and you look at his price, 6.8 million now. He's crept up. His ownership is still not too bad, still relatively low at 13%. I really like Trossard for the next 2, especially in game week 12. And I know he's got tough fixtures after 13 and 14, but if there's any time that you're looking to bring in Trossard, it is this game week because of the next 2. So for the next 2 fixtures, you've got to attack it. Would you say, Jordan? Look at Brentford and Nottingham Forest. Would you agree?
Yeah, if you have to buy Trossard, now is the time, because after 11 and 12, Brighton have Man City and Chelsea, which I'm surprised Chelsea's a grey in difficulty. I thought that would be at least a red, but for Brighton's sake and Trossard's, it is better that you buy him in for the Brentford game away in game week 11 if you want him early, and I expect him to get something from that game, as Brentford haven't been the sharpest recently in terms of their team, because they are an aggressive team normally, but recently they've been pretty poor. I mean, they lost 5-1 to Newcastle in their last match, and they haven't looked great. So Brighton and Trossard could take great advantage of that game by quite a good fair bit. They could have a really good game. They probably might win as well, depending on how Brentford recover from their back-to-back defeats. And obviously in the next fixture, game week 12, Nottingham Forest, again, there's a team that's struggling again in the Premier League. I think they drew to Aston Villa last game, which is a good result for them, surprisingly, a draw, but they are still struggling and receiving the ends of goals from teams. So they are a team to target against as well. And the Brighton fixture is at home as well. So Nottingham Forest are away in that game. So 2 good fixtures for Brighton there. And you definitely want to buy Trossard ASAP before game week 13 at least, because Man City is going to be tough for Brighton. And I would say Chelsea as well. So you want to get Trossard in early so you can bag those points that he possibly might return in those 2 fixtures.
Yeah, I agree. If there's any time you're looking to bring him in, it's now because of the fixtures. I like him a lot. He could come into my team. if you are looking for a midfielder, I think he's up there definitely, and we both like him as a pick, and I think he's definitely one I can see scoring nice points in, especially in that game week 12. As we know, Man City and Arsenal do blank in game week 12, so he could be a good one to have, even potentially as a captain option in game week 12, because you can't captain Haaland. He's not got a fixture. A lot of people will be put off by Salah against West Ham. Trossard could be a decent captain option. Have you thought about that, Jordan, against Nottingham Forest?
Well, this was a similar idea for captaining Madison when he had Nottingham Forest, and not many people went for it, but it was turns out to be a good call. I mean, with the form of Trossard, if we talk about in terms of not fixtures, but the form of that player, you would say, yeah, he's a great captaincy pick for that fixture against Nottingham Forest because 5 goals and 2 assists, he's outperforming players more expensive than him, like Salah, for example. I mean, he's outscored and I think assisted more than Salah or matching his assists. So for the player's price as well, 6.8 million, you're saving a heck of a lot of money, and you've got a player that's well on form this season so far, and Brighton behind with a new manager who has made a straightaway impact. It's crazy how much of an impact the new manager's had on Brighton. It's like he's been there for many years with Brighton, the way he's reacted to the team and just literally worked well chemistry wise. It's a great thing for Brighton.
Yep. So that is the first player, guys. Leandro Trossard is a buy for us, and he's one I think we should be bringing into your team. Just also got Barnsey in the chat. Say good evening, chaps. Hi to you, mate. Fatality, hi all, and evening, lads from SK. How you doing? Yep, we're fine. Thank you all for joining. If you are enjoying the content, please do drop a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. But yeah, Jordan, let's move on to the next player on the list, as we recommend, the players that we should be bringing in. And the next guy on the list is Son, and this could also be Harry Kane. So it could be any of the Spurs guys, Son or Kane. So wherever way you want to go, we put Son because I think Kane was flagged, but I don't think it's anything serious. So we put Son on here, and the reason why I've gone Son is, I know he hasn't had the best of season so far, but I still like the Spurs fixtures, and in game week 11, he's got a nice fixture against Everton. Now, another reason why Son is on this list is because a lot of people have money now, because assuming you've got one premium like Haaland, and a lot of people are looking to sell someone like a Mo Salah or, or even a KDB, because KDB blanks in a game week 12. If you are looking to put the money somewhere else and you're not happy with Salah, etc., you could look to Spurs. Now, I would prefer Harry Kane. Definitely, I prefer Harry Kane over Son. So we've just put Son in for now. But if you can look to move the money up front, I'd rather go Harry Kane. But Son is also in there because he's a better option than Salah at this moment in time, because of that game week 11 fixture against Everton at home looks very favourable for him. Numbers are, expected goals 0.33, expected assists per 90 0.2. So his numbers are slightly down from last season, obviously. The brilliant season he had. We do expect Son to hopefully pick it up soon. And I still believe that Everton fixture is a good game for him, and Spurs, and Kane, etc. But his ownership is still very low at 10.7%. His price has come down as well quite a bit, 11.7 million. But I do think Spurs, if you had to pick, Jordan, Kane or Son versus Salah, who are you going for at this moment in time? You got to say the Spurs guys, right?
Yeah, definitely Spurs are outweighing Liverpool. So asset-wise, you do want to target players like Son or Harry Kane or even Richarlison if you fancy going a differential pick, because obviously Kulusevski is out injured for...
He's actually back now.
Oh, is he back now?
He's back in training, yeah.
Oh, in that case, then either Kulusevski or Richarlison, if you want to take the risk on whichever plays, then in that case. But yeah, with the fixtures as well with Spurs, it is a mixed bunch. But with Everton, it's a great fixture. Man United, I don't think it's a red, so Spurs could have a good game in that one. Newcastle could be a bit of a tough one, but then Bournemouth away, And then depending on what Liverpool are in game week 15, again, that is another good fixture for Spurs at home as well. So even though the fixtures are a bit mixed bunch, I do think the form of Spurs in terms of attack is really good. And especially with Kane scoring a penalty last game as well. Because he's on penalties, Kane just has the upper hand, I think, if I was to choose a Spurs player. And as a forward as well, he doesn't take up a midfielder slot, which I'd probably save money in getting a cheaper midfielder rather than buying Son, who is still expensive even though he's dropped price, and his form hasn't been up to the greatest that we've seen him. I do think Kane has that slight upper hand, but
Yeah.
you could go Son as a different pick just because he can, as we saw, he scored the hat trick against Leicester coming on the pitch for 15 minutes or so. So he is a player that can surprise you at the strangest moments in football. But yeah, any Spurs player is a pick
Yeah.
at this moment in time, and people will be looking towards a player like Son or Harry Kane or other such Spurs players.
Yeah, I think it's because obviously in game week 11, Liverpool play Manchester City, and that is a tough game for both teams. So you know, a lot of our players are going to be playing against each other. So I think Spurs are one of the better teams with a good fixture this week. You know, Everton at home looks like a good fixture on paper. So that's why we've mentioned Harry Kane or Son. If you are looking to sell Salah, which I know a lot of you are, so it could be easy to move the money to Son. But if you've got 2 free transfers, because obviously if you want to go Kane, you'll have to take Salah out and take a forward out and move the money up front. Just 2 transfers. So if you just got one transfer, maybe Son is the way you go. But yeah, Son is a pick for us. And Mohammed also says Son is a great shout. I think he'll perform against Everton and United. United have been leaking goals. Yeah, there's no reason why he can't score against United. I know it's a red fixture, but as we saw with Martinelli, I think form, we have to look at the form as well. As Jordan was mentioning last time, we can't just go through. I know that it's a tough team on paper, but Martinelli has shown, and many players have shown, obviously, that if your team's playing well and the other team isn't performing, as Liverpool aren't, there's no reason why a player on form can't do it. I know Son ain't on form, but maybe Harry Kane can do it against Man United, but we'll see. But yeah, Son is a buy for us. So now let's move on to some players that we recommend that you should sell if you own them. Maybe they're quite highly owned players, and I think these are players that you can look to probably get rid of. So the first one on the list, and that is none other than Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I actually own myself, and he's definitely probably coming out my team this week. So yeah, Trent is a sell for us. He's played 10 times so far this season. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist. His underlying numbers are also very, very, very poor for someone like of Trent's ability, from what we've come to used to expect from him. As he, last few seasons. But his numbers are down 0.06 expected goals per 90, and then expected assists per 90 0.11. So he struggled a lot, and also we know Trent's injured anyway. So Trent is actually injured for, I think he's missing 2 weeks. So he's probably going to miss the Man City game, and he also could miss the West Ham game. So if you have Trent, I think you definitely have to sell him. Man City isn't even a good fixture anyway if he was fit. So I think even if he was fit, we'll probably look to remove him. But because he is injured, he's just made it even easier now. So we think Trent is a defo sell. Liverpool aren't looking good, and he's not going to play. So if you've got Trent, definitely get rid of him. Let's talk about replacements, Jordan, because obviously we're going to sell him if you have him. Where would you be going if you are downgrading Trent? Because he's the most expensive defender. So who would you go to if you were looking to take out Trent?
If I was to say for game week 11 only, a player that I would probably go for, but even for the long term, I'll probably aim for a Crystal Palace defender like Guehi or Anderson, or someone like that in defence for Crystal Palace, because Crystal Palace have Wolves next, and we all know Wolves don't score many goals, and Chelsea scored 3-0 against Wolves and kept a clean sheet. So they are a team to target if you want a clean sheet, and I do think Crystal Palace can get it against Wolves in game week 11. So that's where I would probably be looking at towards if I was to find a cheaper option for Trent.
Okay, so fair enough. So you'll probably go quite cheap if you was to take him out, because obviously Cancelo, you know, most people have Cancelo. Reece James is another one. If you haven't got Reece James, I look to bring Reece James in because I think Chelsea have good fixtures, fairly good fixtures, and we know the attacking return that James has. Trippier is actually one that I think if you don't have, you'd probably look to bring him in for Trent, even though I don't think Trippier's fixtures are that great over the next 5. But, you know, Trippier does have that attacking threat, which I've seen myself as a non-Trippier owner. But for my personally, I do have Trent, and I'm probably going to take out him to bring in Trippier. So that's probably where I'd be going. But I think, you know, Cancelo, James, Trippier. There's not that many. I know I like Arsenal defense, but the problem is Arsenal blank. So you probably look to bring an Arsenal defender in after game week 13. So I wouldn't be going for an Arsenal defender, but I like your shout. Obviously, the Palace defender. I like Anderson as well, just because Anderson's a bit of a threat as well. I think from set pieces. So I'd probably go Anderson. Mate. I think it's a decent shout. But yeah, Trent for us is definitely a sell. So yeah, let us know what you guys think as well. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? We'd like to hear your opinions, guys. And also, if you haven't already, do drop a like in the video if you can. Let's move on to the second player that is a sell for this week, and that is Luis Diaz, another Liverpool player. And yeah, another player that is actually injured. So we saw the news that came out yesterday. Luis Diaz is actually out for until the World Cup. So he's out for the rest of the year pretty much. So if you have Luis Diaz, I know it's a bit unfortunate because he has had a brilliant season so far in a personal level. I know Liverpool haven't been great, but Luis Diaz has actually been one of the players that's actually been performing. So I think Luis Diaz, you got to get rid of him. He's injured. He's taken up an 8 million slot, and not really much to talk about in Diaz because he is injured till the World Cup. So I'm not going to dwell on Diaz too much, but it's a bit unfortunate for people that did have Diaz because the West Ham fixture looks decent. You know, Nottingham Forest ideally looks decent, even though Liverpool's form hasn't been great. But yeah, Diaz is a sell. We're not going to dwell on him too much. But yeah, let's move on now actually to players that we should be holding on to. Maybe these are players that people are removing that we think you should give another week or so to. So the first player as a hold, and that is Reece James. Now, Reece James is on the list because he's actually been transferred out by quite a few fantasy managers, which I'm not sure why. I know he got benched, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
in the
that's
last game.
why.
I'm just going to show you, Jordan, how many transfers out he's had. So let me just double check. I'm trying to find how many. So he's been transferred out by 64,000 managers, Reece James, so far already, which I find quite strange because you look at their fixtures. Game week 11, he has Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa have been terrible so far this season. Gerrard's under massive pressure. They couldn't beat Nottingham Forest on Monday night. So if Reece James does start, you can definitely see attacking returns in that game for him and even a clean sheet. And then Brentford, the way Brentford are playing right now, conceding a lot of goals, I think that's a good fixture for Reece James. Man United, you just play him because, you know, there's probably going to be goals in that one. Brighton, Arsenal probably looks quite tough, but at least for the next 4, would you be holding on to James, Jordan? Because I know he got benched, but surely he gets attacking returns and some clean sheets in the next 4.
Yeah, I do see some, as long as Reece James plays in 4 out of those 5 fixtures for Chelsea. I know he won't play every game, and sometimes he will be rested by Potter, like we've seen before. But I think with the rest that he's had, maybe he definitely will start. I'm hoping in game week 11 against Aston Villa because that is another great fixture. It is unfortunate he didn't start in the Wolves one because that was an easy clean sheet for Reece James in that one, especially with Chelsea winning 3-0. He could have even had an attack and return in that one, I imagine. So yeah, it is definitely a hold for Reece James, especially with the next at least 3 fixtures that Chelsea have. As we mentioned, Aston Villa with Gerrard struggling with winning against Nottingham Forest, which should have been a win for them, but ended up a draw. Brentford, who haven't been the same currently in the previous 3 games, they've been a bit off form. So there is always that potential for a clean sheet and maybe attacking return for Reece James in that one. Man United, as we know, they haven't really improved as we thought. So there is that chance that Reece James could slip one through Man United defence, as they have looked a bit vulnerable still. And potentially Brighton and Arsenal is maybe when you could think about maybe taking James out, depending on how he does in 11, 12 and 13. It will probably depend on if you want to keep him for after that time. But for the moment, Reece James is a hold for us just because of his form. Obviously hasn't been the greatest, but with Chelsea's fixtures, you would think his form will pick up, and he should be a decent hold for 6.1 million. I mean, his ownership is quite high still, 40% still own James. So I'll definitely be holding on to him, even though I'm not a big fan of Chelsea assets. But he definitely is a hold for us.
Yeah, I think I'll be holding. Obviously, we both own James. Yeah, I think he's a definite hold just because of the fixtures coming up, and also because there's not really, as we mentioned, there's not really any defenders you can really go to because Trent's injured. Cancelo's obviously in everyone's team. Where else is there? I mean, you're kind of struggling to pick defenders because there's not much with the money you're gonna spread it. So I think James definitely you got to have him. For me anyway, Villa looks great, and then I think we've got to see how he does. I know Arash commented saying Oba and James start on the Champions League bench again. I'll be surprised if he gets benched 2 Premier League games in a row. I know he's starting tonight, but that wouldn't put me off personally. I still think he will start. I will be surprised if he was benched again. I don't think certain players like James, just because they start midweek, they're meant to be benched again. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see how that happens. But I'll be very, very surprised if he doesn't play against Villa. But we'll wait and see. Michael Parker's also said he's keeping James indefinitely. But yeah, we are going to get to your questions, guys. If you think we've missed any of your questions, we haven't. We're definitely going to come back and answer all your questions at the end of the segment. So we're not ignoring any questions. So let's move on to a few more players. Obviously, we've done some sells, and then we're on the holds now. So let's move on to the second player that you should hold on to, and that is Perisic of Spurs. Now, this might I don't know, this might confuse a few people because I wasn't a massive fan of Perisic myself, just because he's a minutes risk and he's a bit of a rotation risk. So why have I included Perisic as a hold? Now, I've put him as a hold because I don't think he's a long-term hold, but I think he could be a 1 week hold. So if you've got Perisic, because Trent is injured and you can't really have Trent, and there's not many defensive options, as we've mentioned, because Jordan, as he said, he was planning to bring in Mark Gurhey, who's a very cheap defender. So people must have a lot of money to spread around. And if you've got Perisic, I think you just hold him against Everton and pray he starts, which he should. And if he does start in that game, there's no reason why he can't get something in that one. That was my thinking behind Perisic. I just think play him against Everton. If he doesn't start against Everton or he doesn't get anything, then yeah, probably take him out. But I'm assuming you've got other transfers that you guys can make. If you've got no moves to make, then maybe you just take him out if you had enough of Perisic. But if I had Perisic, I think I'd hold him for 1 more week and give him that Everton game. What's your thoughts on Perisic, Jordan? Because obviously you might not agree, but I definitely don't think he's a long-term hold though.
No, I definitely agree. He's not a long-term hold. Obviously, we know Perisic is a rotation risk and a minutes risk. But with the fixture he has up in game week 11 against Everton, it could mean that Perisic does have a good game in that, despite his minutes will be maybe not 90 minutes in that game. But he's had 3 assists so far this season, so he is an attacking sort of threat from a defender's point of view. So he's not the worst pick to go for, especially at 5.5 million. He is a cheapish option, especially if you already have him in your team as in your starting 11. Because I remember I did, and then I switched him out for Reece James because obviously I didn't know if he was going to play in the next one, and obviously Spurs fixtures are a bit jumbled in terms of fixture difficulty. But Perisic's form hasn't been too bad. It's just Conte hasn't really played him enough, I would say, in games, and obviously rested him because he's not the not the youngest player to still play football, but he does need the rest from time to time. He's definitely a player to hold for at least one more game week, and then you could probably consider after game week 11, where he has Man United away, where he could possibly be benched or probably rotated around someone else that you potentially get rid of him, but you might hold him on for Everton at home just because it's a nice fixture for him and see how he does. But you got no, there's no loss for for holding Perisic because, as we mentioned, there's not many defenders that you can really go for. I mean, there's only Crystal Palace really and West Ham defenders you can really opt for at this point because, as well, no teams are really keeping clean sheets either this season. There's very rarely that teams are keeping clean sheets. And also, Spurs did come off of a clean sheet against Brighton, which I was quite surprised about. So,
Yeah.
again, this might be a surprise for Everton at home fixture. Maybe Perisic keeps a clean sheet and plays at least 70 minutes, hopefully, for those owners who have him.
Yeah, I think Perisic is one that you don't buy. You definitely don't buy Perisic, but if you have him, you hold him. I think for at least that Everton game and see what happens because there's no reason why he can't haul in that game. But that is our thoughts on Perisic. Elliot also says he's holding Perisic because he has a high ceiling. Yeah, I agree. I think Perisic definitely does have a high ceiling, but always there is that minutes risk. But if you have him, I definitely think give him one more week. Let's move on now to some players that you should be looking to completely ignore if you do have them. So the first player on our list, and that is Bernardo Silva. Now, this one might be interesting why we've included Bernardo Silva, but the reason I've included Bernardo Silva is actually because I'm just looking how many transfers in he's had. He's had quite a lot of transfers in. I remember like when I checked on Monday, I think it was Monday I checked. So the reason we've included him is just because he's got that blank in game week 12 and Liverpool. Now I know Liverpool at the moment in time, he probably isn't a dark red fixture. It probably is a pretty easy fixture for Man City. But I wouldn't be using my third slot on a Man City player, like for example Bernardo. I'd rather use it, Foden, De Bruyne, Cancelo, Haaland. Like I think you'd rather go there instead of Bernardo because he's still a bit of a minutes risk, a rotation risk, I should say. But yeah, the reason why he's on this list is because he had quite a few transfers in on Monday. I'm just trying to check now. I think he's come down a bit more, but I can't see transfers. Yeah. But yeah, that's why he's on the list. He has quite a few transfers, and I was surprised to see. So yeah, he's been transferred in by over 10,000 managers. So it might not be much, but when I saw it on Monday, it was quite high. So yeah, that's why I put him on the list. Basically, I just think Liverpool. It depends how much you rate Liverpool. Really, do you think Man City will put 4 or 5 past Liverpool? If you do, then maybe you could bring Bernardo in. But I still think he's ignore against Liverpool because I'd rather have a Foden instead of Bernardo, and I'd rather have Haaland or De Bruyne, etc., taking up that third City slot. And also, as we know, if you bring in Bernardo, he blanks in game week 12. So that is our thoughts on Bernardo. Now we'll probably go watch him score against Liverpool on the weekend, but that's FPL sometimes. But yeah, I think Bernardo is an ignore just because I'd rather have other Man City players and the blank fixture. But yeah, we're not going to dwell too much on Bernardo. Let's move on now to the last player on the ignore list, who I think this person we're about to say next, he's been on every single ignore list for like a couple weeks now. But again, it is Saliba. Now, Saliba's on this list because he's also had quite a lot of transfers in. So let me just double check. Yeah, Saliba has been transferred in 142,000 times already ahead of the deadline. So he's one of the most transferred in defenders behind Trippier. What do you make of that, Jordan?
Well, the only thing that makes sense from that is either people don't have three players from Man City and Arsenal that blank in game week 12. I'm assuming that those people that transferred into either have only two, either from Man City or from Arsenal, because there's no other reason why Saliba again is being highly transferred in, especially on the last result for Arsenal with the 3-2 against Liverpool. Although Saliba is a threat when Arsenal have corners, but I still wouldn't be transferring in an Arsenal player before the game week 12 blank.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense. It would make more sense after game week 12 to bring in Saliba. And also, personally, for me, I would want to be more attack minded. I wanted that slot for Arsenal. I would want attacking positions like Saka or Jesus and Martinelli. I'm not really considering bringing in a defender for Arsenal. I feel like it's more beneficial bringing in a midfield attacker that's going to get possibly a return. I know Arsenal will keep some clean sheets, obviously after game week 12 in against Southampton, not the Forest, for example. But I do think there's more points in the attacking sense of Arsenal. As we've seen, it's been relentless so far, and I do think it will keep up with Arsenal. How it's working at the moment. So again, that's another reason why I don't think Saliba should be someone that you should be going for. You should be completely ignoring Arsenal. I may have mentioned also Man City, as we've spoken about Bernardo Silva. Those two teams before game week 12 should be completely ignored just because of the blank, and they're playing one fixture before the blank, so there's no real reason to bring in a player like Saliba.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously that game week 12 fixture we're looking at, he doesn't play. So if you're bringing him against Leeds, I think Leeds can get a goal in that one. So I don't see why Leeds can't score. And then he blanks. So if I was bringing in an Arsenal player, I'd be definitely looking to bring him in after game week 13. So it was just surprising to see that he's had another 142,000 transfers in. His ownership is now 28%, Saliba as well, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's quite high. So it's interesting. His price is now 5 million as well. I think he was around 4.5 million when the season kicked off. So he's done really well. But I think you definitely could wait, guys, before transferring Saliba in. Like, wait until game week 12 is over. Bring him in for Southampton if you are looking to bring in an Arsenal defender. But for now, we think he's definitely an ignore. So those are our thoughts on the players. But let's quickly recap the players that we have selected. So the two players that we recommend they should buy for game week 11 is Trossard and Son. The two players they should look to sell, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Luis Diaz. You should hold on to Reece James and Perisic, and you should ignore Bernardo Silva and Saliba. Let us know what you think of our picks. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinions, and we try to reply to every single person. So do let us know what you guys think. But we are going to quickly read some of your comments that we did miss. Mohammed says, hey lads, Trossard is decent. I actually think he's fixture proof. Brighton played well against Spurs. Yeah, Trossard looks good. I think his fixtures look very nice. And if you're looking for a midfielder, I'd be going Trossard for sure. At 6.8 million is he at?
Yep.
Nanjay, welcome to the stream. Hey guys, I have to head out now, but I'll be listening in the car. Keep up the good work. Thank you, mate.
Thanks,
hope you enjoy the show. Michael says, good evening, Huss, Jordan, and chat. Do I keep Maddison, St. Max, and roll this game week 11? Would you keep Maddison? Yeah, I think you keep Maddison, don't you?
Oh yeah, definitely keep Maddison. He's got a decent fixture.
He plays Palace at home. Could be a good fixture for him in terms of getting a goal. So yeah, I'd probably look to keep Maddison, as I probably will be anyway as a Maddison owner. And Newcastle have Man United away. I'd keep St. Max still possibly, or look to move him to Trossard if you can stretch with your funds. So yeah, those are our thoughts. Mohammed also says we'll be thinking to ship out Trent and Salah, and just feel I'll have an interesting problem. Too much cash. I'm not sure where to spend it. Love the Trippier shout. Yeah, I think Trippier, if you don't own Trippier, he could be a good move from Trent. But even though I don't think Trippier's fixtures are that great, he does always have that attacking threat that he can get an assist.
Yeah, I mean Trippier is the third most transferred in player this week with over 200,000. So he's a popular pick this game week.
Jordan, would you do Rashford to Trossard if you have 2 free transfers? He had no idea what to do.
Yeah, probably. I would probably do Rashford to Trossard just because I don't like the form of Man United, and also Rashford's a rotation risk too. It's not guaranteed he plays every game, and these minutes are a bit limited. Whereas Trossard is a more nailed player, and his form's been better. Brighton have been much better than Man United have been, and I just like the fixtures for Brighton as well. Much better, especially in the game week 11 and 12. Much better than Man United's one, especially with Newcastle next. That's quite a tough fixture. So I would prefer Trossard.
Yeah, I definitely would go. I'd go Trossard over Rashford any day. I just think the fixtures are better. And Rashford, apart from the Arsenal game, he's not really done much, has he? In my opinion.
No, not really.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on Rashford. Apart from the haul he got against Arsenal, was it in game week? I'm just checking. Game week 6, where he got the 18-point haul. I know, sorry, Liverpool. He did score against Liverpool, didn't he? But
yeah,
his performances hasn't been great in the last two. I know they played City, which was a tough game, but the next three don't look easy for Man United. Newcastle at home, which could be a tough game. Tottenham and then Chelsea. So yeah, I'd probably think that's a good move. Rashford out for Trossard in. So that was our thoughts. If anyone's got any more questions, do drop it in the comments below, and we'll try to answer them before we do wrap this stream up. And if you haven't already, guys, please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the FPL Duo YouTube channel, as we are close to 600 subscribers now, I believe. What would you say for this one, Jordan? From Arrow, he's got a comment: 5.5 mid replacement for Gordon.
I mean, is there many around that price?
Then not really.
I would say Bailey, but no, I can't say Bailey because he's flagged.
I mean, Eze at Palace, he did come off scoring a goal. Palace got some decent fixtures, so I think Eze, if you had to pick, I would personally try upgrade for the 5.5 million mid and maybe take money out other positions. Like if you've got expensive defenders, maybe take Trent out where you can afford a better midfielder. But I think Eze is quite nice at Palace at 5.5.
Oh, actually, Almiron.
Oh, Almiron, is he 5.5 as well?
He's not 5.5. I think he's 5.1, but it's a bit cheaper for a midfield replacement.
Let me just check Almiron. Actually, I think he's a bit more. Almiron is sorry. Okay, my bad. He's 5.1. So yeah, Almiron. I actually like that as a shout actually as well. Almiron fixtures aren't the greatest for Newcastle, but yeah, why not Almiron? There's Aronson as well at Leeds. I think he's decent. Aronson at Leeds could be decent, but I'll probably prefer the other two, Eze and Almiron, who you've said. Almiron's got 4 goals as well this season, so
yeah,
he could be an interesting pick.
His form's been really good, especially in that Brentford game. He looked really good in that one, so that's why I particularly thought about as an option, because I know his fixtures aren't great, but the form he's on as well, it kind of outweighs it a bit.
Yep. So yeah, there you go, guys. Almiron, best 5.5 million and cheaper midfielder right now. Barnsley says, all right, Rashford to Trossard it is. Trust you guys. There you go. Hopefully Trossard could get you a goal or two. You know, I think that Nottingham Forest game looks good in game week 12. Brentford looks good, but I think 12, he looks like a nice pick for that one. So, and then decide what to do after that. But yeah, guys, we are going to wrap it up now. That has been the transfer tips video. We're not going to go on for too long. And yeah, let's take that off the screen. But yeah, guys, that was the transfer tips. We are back again on Thursday for the transfer. Sorry, what are we back for? Team selection. Team selection video on Thursday. So do join us Thursday, 7 p.m. UK time, where we talk about our teams and what we're doing with our transfers and captain picks, all that good stuff. I have 2 free transfers also. Looking forward to that. And yeah, we're back again after that. So when's the deadline this week, by the way?
I think it's Friday
Mm,
at I think
6:30.
6:30. Oh,
6:30. Yeah. So deadline stream back again as well at 5:30 on a Friday. So do join us on that one. Should be another good one where we do our transfers. So other than that, that is it, guys, from us today. Do join us on Thursday for the team selection as always. And we are heading out now. So just want to say a big thank you to everyone that has watched. Thank you for subscribing and everything, guys. I really want to appreciate. I just want to say I appreciate all your support. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. And we will be back again on Thursday. Take care, guys, and hope you have a good one. Peace.
yeah. Take care, guys. See you Thursday for the team selection.